115 years. That's how long the Blue Diamond plant stood in Sacramento. Since 1910, generations walked through those doors. Fathers trained sons, grandmothers trained granddaughters. And then in June of 2025, it was over. 600 jobs gone. The world's largest almond producer leaving. Not because they were failing, because California made success impossible. And here's what nobody's telling you. The cheese factory followed them out the door. Leprino Foods, the company that makes the mozzarella on your Pizza Hut pizza, your Domino's pizza, your Papa John's pizza, just shut down their 5-year-old Lemoore plant. 368 more jobs vanished. But this isn't just about jobs. This is about food. This is about fuel. And this is about a governor who just proved his entire green agenda was a lie. I'm Dana Sterling, and this is Maddow News. If you want the only channel that's actually reading these corporate filings and government documents instead of just repeating press releases, hit that subscribe button right now. This story gets worse with every document I pull. And before we dive into the numbers, I need to know, what state are you watching from? Drop it in the comments. Are you seeing grocery prices explode near you? Because California's collapse is about to become your problem. Let me tell you what the politicians said versus what actually happened. When these companies announced they were leaving, the official story was sanitized. Blue Diamond's CEO said the Sacramento facility had become, quote, too costly and inefficient. Leprino Foods pointed to, quote, the facility's age and anticipated capital requirements. That's corporate speak. Let me translate. California's regulatory environment, energy costs, and compliance burdens made it cheaper to abandon a 115-year-old facility and build from scratch in Texas than to stay. Think about that math. It's cheaper to throw away a century of infrastructure, retrain an entire workforce, and relocate thousands of miles away than to operate in California for one more year. Blue Diamond didn't leave because their almonds stopped growing. California produces 80% of the world's almonds. The almonds are still there. The demand is still there. What's not there anymore? The ability to process them affordably. When your operational costs become so extreme that you'd rather demolish everything you've built and start over in another state, that's not a business decision. That's an escape plan. And Leprino? Let's talk specifics. They opened an 850,000 square foot facility in Lubbock, Texas. It processes 8 million pounds of milk per day. That plant will employ 600 people. The California plant they're closing, it employed 368 people. So they're not downsizing, they're expanding. They're just doing it 1,200 miles away from California. Why? Because in Texas, they can actually afford to run the machines. In California, Leprino was hit with $82 million in environmental fines in 2024 alone. $82 million. That's not a fine, that's a ransom note. Valero cited the same reason when they announced they're shutting down their Benicia refinery. Quote, the most stringent and difficult regulatory and enforcement environment anywhere else in North America. So we're clear, the companies aren't going bankrupt. They're fleeing bankruptcy by leaving California. Now, here's where it gets terrifying. Let's talk about what happens when the food factories leave, but the diesel disappears at the same time. California is about to lose 17% of its refining capacity. The Phillips 66 refinery in Los Angeles shut down in October 2025. The Valero refinery in Benicia closes in April 2026. That's 284,000 barrels of oil per day gone. You know what that means? It means the trucks that moved Blue Diamond's almonds, the trucks that moved Leprino's cheese, those trucks are about to pay $8 per gallon for diesel by the end of 2026. Some projections say $10 per gallon. Now, connect the dots with me. You've got food manufacturers fleeing because of costs. You've got refineries shutting down because of regulations. And you've got a state that imports 88% of Nevada's fuel, meaning when California's refineries die, Nevada starves. Arizona starves. Oregon and Washington are next. This isn't a California problem. This is a Western United States supply chain failure, and it's locked in. It's happening right now. Let me show you exactly how bad this is. Back in the 1,980 seconds, California had more than 40 refineries. Today, after Valero closes, there will be 7. 7 refineries for 39 million people. The U.S. Energy Information Administration says California's gasoline consumption is the second highest in the nation, but refining capacity has dropped from 2.38 million barrels per day to 1.64 million barrels. That's a 31% capacity loss, while the population grew 6%. You cannot sustain an economy when supply shrinks and demand grows. It's not politics, it's math. And here's where the dominoes fall faster. California relies on a special gasoline blend called carbob. It's unique to California because of environmental regulations. That means you can't just import gasoline from Texas or Louisiana. Only a handful of refineries in the entire world can make California-compliant fuel. Most of them are in India and South Korea. So now, when a California refinery goes down for maintenance or when there's a supply shock, you're not waiting for a truck from Texas. You're waiting for a tanker ship from Mumbai. That's 30 days. 30 days where gas prices spike, shortages spread, and people wait in lines like it's 1,973. Republican lawmakers, including Congressman Vince Vaughn, warned that this creates a national security risk. California hosts critical military bases, Travis Air Force Base, Naval Base San Diego, Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton. If California runs out of fuel because it's waiting on foreign tankers, those bases run out of fuel. That's not hypothetical. That's logistics. The Newsom administration called it fear-mongering. But here's what's not hypothetical. Food manufacturers are already gone. Let me bring this back to the human cost. Dave Costa worked at Leprino Foods for 35 years. His father hauled milk cans to that plant in the 1,950 seconds. His son-in-law works at Leprino's other facility in Lemoore, 3 generations, and now Dave is watching that legacy die. He told reporters, quote, "This is the highest paying job in the valley, one of the highest paying factory jobs in the valley, and it's going to be a great loss to the city of Lemoore. It's going to be devastating." Devastating doesn't just mean unemployment. It means the tax base collapses. Lemoore loses the property taxes, the sales taxes, the payroll taxes. Schools get less funding. Roads don't get repaired. Public services shrink. And it's not just Lemoore. Sacramento is losing 600 jobs from Blue Diamond, plus all the contractor work, the logistics work, the suppliers. The Sacramento mayor put out a statement that was almost comically optimistic, talking about, quote, new opportunities for the 53-acre site. New opportunities. Like what? A homeless encampment? Because every other food manufacturer is looking at California and running. Here's the number you need to remember. 360 companies left California between 2018 and 2024. That's not all food companies. That's everything. Tech companies, financial firms, manufacturers. They're all doing the same math. And the math says Texas is cheaper, Arizona is cheaper, Nevada is cheaper. Even Oregon, which has its own regulatory problems, is cheaper than California. But wait, if all of this is true, if the refineries are closing and the food factories are fleeing and the supply chain is collapsing, then why did Governor Gavin Newsom just sign a bill to approve 2,000 new oil well permits per year? I'll tell you why. Because he's panicking. This is the part of the story they tried to bury. In September 2025, Newsom signed Senate Bill 237. The bill fast-tracks approval for up to 2,000 new oil wells per year in Kern County, starting in January 2026. For context, Newsom's administration approved only 3 new oil well permits in the first quarter of 2025. 3. And 0 permits in the second and third quarters. The green agenda was working, right? Oil production was being phased out. The future was electric. And then the refineries started closing. And then the diesel prices started spiking. And then the food factories started leaving. And suddenly, the man who called for phasing out all oil extraction by 2045, the man who banned new fracking permits, the man who lectured America about fossil fuels, signed a bill to approve 2,000 oil wells per year. Not because he wanted to, because he had to. Because when reality arrives, ideology dies. Senate Bill 237 doesn't just approve wells. It guts environmental review. It removes oversight from CalGEM, the state's Geologic Energy Management Division. It creates a plug-to-drill system where oil companies just have to plug 2 old wells before drilling a new one, and the permits go through automatically. No lawsuits, no delays. No public input. Why? because Newsom knows that if California doesn't produce more oil, diesel will hit $10 per gallon by summer, food shipments will stop, and the entire state will be screaming at him in an election year. Let me read you what Newsom said when he signed the bill. Quote, "Millions of Californians will soon start saving billions on their energy costs. We're stabilizing the state's gasoline supply to avert severe price spikes at the pump." Stabilizing. That means we're in crisis. That means the Green Prince just admitted the green dream is dead. Here's what the California Fuels and Convenience Alliance said when the Benicia refinery closure was announced. Quote, "This closure is not just a loss of a refinery, it's a direct hit to California families, businesses, and our economy. California's policy landscape has become so restrictive that in-state operations are no longer tenable for many companies." And then they added this. "Reducing in-state fuel production increases California's reliance on foreign nations for basic energy needs. In times of international tension or natural disaster, this makes the state, and by extension the nation, more vulnerable to supply shocks and economic coercion." You know what they're describing? Dependency. California built an economy dependent on importing oil from foreign countries while simultaneously making it illegal to extract oil domestically. That's not an energy policy. That's a hostage situation. And when Saudi Arabia or Russia or China decides to turn off the tap, California goes dark. Newsom knows this. That's why he signed the bill. That's why he's drilling. But here's the sick irony. It won't matter. Because even if Kern County drills 2,000 wells per year for the next 10 years, even if California boosts domestic oil production, they still don't have enough refineries to process it. You can't turn crude oil into gasoline without a refinery. And California just lost 2 of them. The wells Newsom is drilling won't save Blue Diamond. They won't bring back Loprino. Because the damage is done. The factories are already in Texas, and Texas has refineries. Texas has cheap energy. Texas has a government that wants businesses to succeed instead of one that wants businesses to apologize for existing. Let me paint you the picture of what California looks like in 12 months. April 2026. The Valero refinery closes. Diesel prices immediately spike. Trucking costs explode. Every grocery store, every warehouse, every distribution center is now paying double or triple for logistics. Food prices go up, not by a little, by a lot. Almonds get more expensive because Blue Diamond is shipping from out of state now. Pizza gets more expensive because Loprino's cheese is coming from Texas. Milk gets more expensive because California dairy farmers can't afford diesel for their trucks. Bread gets more expensive because flour shipments cost more. Everything connected to the supply chain, which is everything you eat, becomes more expensive. And then the shortages start. Because it's not just about price, it's about availability. When a refinery goes down for maintenance, California now has 6 left instead of 8. When there's a supply disruption, it takes 30 days to get a tanker from Asia instead of 3 days to get a truck from Texas. Gas stations start running out of premium fuel first, then regular. Diesel becomes rationed for commercial trucks first, then unavailable for personal vehicles. And at that point, people start hoarding. And when people hoard, the system collapses faster. We've seen this before. In the 1,970 seconds, OPEC cut off oil exports to the US. And within weeks, there were gas lines around the block. Fights at pumps, rationing, odd, even license plate days. That was with 40 refineries in California. We're about to do it with 7. Except this time, it's self-inflicted. This time, OPEC didn't embargo us. Sacramento embargoed itself, and the rest of the country is watching. Nevada gets 88% of its fuel from California. When California's refineries close, Nevada's gas prices are projected to jump to $8 per gallon, maybe more. Arizona is next, then Oregon, then Washington. Phillips 66 just closed their Ferndale refinery in Washington. That's another 105,000 barrels per day gone. The entire West Coast is entering a fuel scarcity crisis, and it's all because California set the precedent. California proved you can regulate oil companies out of existence, and now the oil companies are gone. Here's where I'm supposed to tell you what to do. But honestly, if you live in California, your options are limited. You can't vote your way out of refinery closures that already happened. You can't petition your way into cheaper diesel. The only real solution is what Blue Diamond and Loprino already did. Leave. Move to a state where the government isn't actively sabotaging your cost of living. Texas, Arizona, Nevada, Florida, they're all cheaper. They all have energy. They all have jobs. California's population declined for the first time in state history in 2021 and 2022. It's not a coincidence. People are reading the same economic data I'm reading, and they're getting out. If you can't leave, then prepare. Stock up on non-perishable food now while it's still relatively affordable. Fill up your gas tank when prices dip, because they're going to spike. If you're a business owner, start sourcing your supplies from out of state if you haven't already. If you run a trucking company, hedge your diesel costs now, because by summer, you're going to be paying double. This is not fear-mongering. This is logistics. And if you're in Nevada, Arizona, Oregon, or Washington, don't think you're safe. California's supply chain is your supply chain. When their refineries close, your prices go up. When their food factories leave, your grocery bills increase. The Newsom administration keeps saying they have a plan. The plan is 2,000 oil wells that won't produce usable fuel because there aren't enough refineries. That's not a plan. That's a press release. Here's the final number I want you to remember. The California Energy Commission says Californians overpaid at the pump by $59 billion between 2015 and 2024. $59 billion. That's not future projections. That's already happened. And it's about to get worse. Because when you lose 17% of your refining capacity in 12 months while demand stays flat, prices don't go up a little. They go up a lot. Some analysts are projecting $8 per gallon by the end of 2026. Others say $10. Either way, it's not if, it's when. So let me summarize. California lost the world's largest almond producer, lost one of the world's largest cheese producers, lost 2 major refineries. And the governor's solution is to drill oil wells that he spent 6 years trying to ban while admitting that California can't refine the oil even if they drill it. That's not policy, that's chaos. That's what happens when you prioritize ideology over infrastructure. And now 39 million people are about to pay the price. I'm Dana Sterling, and this is Maddow News. If this story made you angry, share it. If it scared you, share it, because the mainstream media isn't covering this honestly. They're running puff pieces about redevelopment opportunities and new clean energy initiatives while Rome burns. But you saw the documents here first. You saw the numbers here first. And when diesel hits $10 per gallon, when grocery stores run out of products, when gas lines form, remember, you were warned. Subscribe now. Hit the notification bell. Because in 6 months, when everything I just told you comes true, you're going to want to know what happens next. And I'll be the one telling you. This is Dana Sterling, this is Maddow News, and California just became a case study in how to destroy an economy in real time.